What a game. And to win with the black pieces against such a great grandmaster such as Levon Aronian is mightily impressive. But we say goodbye to Levon Aronian. And for Arjun Erigaisi, he goes one step closer, straight to the quarterfinals, but one step closer to those coveted candidate spots.
Welcome to week 6 of the Chess News podcast, where I discuss the FIDE World Cup, the announcement of the FIDE Candidates, and more. Of course, I'm starting with the FIDE World Cup, underway in Goa, India. It is perhaps the most surprising World Cup in history, with so many big names having been knocked out already before the quarterfinals. At this point, only 4 of the top 20 seeds are still in the competition, and I don't think that's ever happened before. Also, with Levon Aronian's loss to Arjun Erigaisi, we are now left with 8 players who have never been in a candidates tournament yet. But before we go to the quarterfinals, let's talk about what happened in the last week. With 32 players still in contention, the tournament passed the halfway mark and saw the first 5 players reach the round of 16 on Wednesday, the second day of the 4th round. Interestingly, 3 players went through by winning their black game in their mini-match. Jose Martinez started with a black win against Alexei Sharana and then drew the next game by repetition in a winning position, while Alexander Donchenko and Nodirbek Yakuboyev beat Matthias Blubaum and Pranav V respectively in game 2. Lim Lei was too strong for Kartik Venkataraman, and Levon Aronian eliminated Radek Wojtaszek. A bit more about that second Martinez-Sharana game. Martinez played a winning tactic on move 13, and from his time management, I think we can conclude that he found the move at the board.
There we go. Knight takes a7. Brilliant move, brilliant sacrifice. Sharana pauses, and Jose Martinez is winning this early into the round. There we go, double exclamation mark.
However, this brilliant move had been known for decades. For instance, it was already mentioned in I.M. Gary Lane's opening book, The C3 Sicilian from 1990. Also funny was the way this Martinez-Sharana game ended. The Peruvian Grandmaster's threefold repetition claim was initially rejected by the arbiter because in the first position, Black's king still had castling rights. You could have a philosophical discussion about whether a king still has castling rights when it is forced to step out of a check, but apparently it does. Anyway, Martinez could simply claim it again because the position would be reached again by force, but instead it was Sharana who claimed it, even though that meant his elimination.
But in the end, John and David, it was Alexei Sharana who claimed threefold repetition, saying that if he played king e8, the position would be repeated.
Get me out of here.
11 matches went to tiebreaks. I was particularly surprised by how easily Sam Shankland defeated Richard Rapport twice. The Hungarian GM seemed totally out of form and didn't get near his usual chess strength.
Richard Rapport, I've got to say, he hasn't impressed me as much as I thought he might. And there we go, handshake. He is out, Richard Rapport. It is American Grandmaster Sam Shankland that goes through.
The round 4 tiebreaks saw 2 of the world's biggest talents leave the World Cup early. First, Praggnanandhaa Ramesh Babu lost the second rapid game of his tiebreak with Daniil Dubov, who had, by the way, also been winning in their first classical game, and then steered this white game to a draw to reach those tiebreaks. As a former World Rapid champion, Dubov seems to feel more comfortable in shorter time controls, and it showed. Praggnanandhaa had managed to reach the final last time, when he lost to Magnus Carlsen, but this time he couldn't get as far.
White will be forced to lose more material, and there we go. Praggnanandhaa is out of the competition. Daniil Dubov takes him down.
Andrei Esipenko, another grandmaster from Russia, became famous when he defeated Magnus Carlsen in their very first classical game, now almost 5 years ago, at the 2021 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. This week, Esipenko was the one responsible for eliminating Germany's biggest hope for the world title, Vincent Keimer. This match saw 2 draws in the classical portion and then 2 more draws in the rapid, when it was decided in the 10+10 games, both won by Esipenko.
Vincent leaves the competition. Andrei Esipenko with such a smooth performance there in the 10+10, holding his nerve, surviving that heavy pressure from Vincent Keimer. He advances to round 5.
Another big name leaving the competition on this day was Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, perhaps the most surprising result of the day. The Frenchman lost to the little-known Russian GM Alexei Grebnev, the under-18 world champion in 2023. This year, Grebnev had won 2 open tournaments on tiebreak, the Dubai Open and the Oskmen Open.
MVL in the previous game, caught in prep against Grebnev. Second time in a row, caught in preparation. His young opponent, MVL, has just clearly been better in the opening, and that's been the difference in a tight match.
Peter Leko did well in this World Cup, scoring +3 in his classical games. He drew twice with Arjun Erigaisi, who then won both rapid games. Other results in this round were Frederik Svane beating Shan Sargsyan, Yavogir Sindarov beating Yu Yanggi, Pentala Harikrishna beating Niels Grandelius, Gabriel Sargsyan beating Awander Liang, Sam Sivian beating Lorenzo Lodici, and Wei Yi beating Parham Maksutlu. The 5th round, with only 16 players remaining, was played on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Half of the matchups were over after the 2 classical games and half went to tiebreaks. Saturday was a good day for Uzbek chess as both Yavogir Sindarov and Nodirbek Yakuboyev managed to qualify for the quarterfinals, beating Frederik Svane and Gabriel Sargsyan respectively. Sargsyan's former teammate Levon Aronian, the only player to win 2 World Cups and the last former candidate in the field, didn't survive his white game against Arjun Erigaisi, who found a beautiful final move, a tactical shot that decided the game instantly.
So there you go. He resigns and smiles and says, "Nice trick, of course. How on earth did I miss the move for a second time within such a short time frame?" And what a game by Arjun Erigaisi.
Wei Yi was the last player to go through on this day, as he profited from an early blunder by Sam Sivian, won a pawn, and then ground down his opponent after 73 moves. The tiebreaks on Sunday saw one unexpected result, at least from a psychological point of view. Alexander Donchenko, who had spoiled a completely winning basic rook endgame to a draw the other day, showed great mental resilience as he eliminated Lim Le in a rollercoaster of a match. He won the first rapid game, but failed to hold the second to a draw, a scenario that repeated itself in the 10+10 games. Donchenko then drew the first blitz game and won the second one with white. Also in these tiebreaks, Andrei Esipenko won the all-Russian match against Alexei Grebnev, while another Russian had to go home, as Sam Shankland managed to beat Danil Dubov in both rapid games. Shankland shared his memories from 2021, when he was also in the quarterfinals, and then lost to Sergei Karyakin in the tiebreak.
I'm banishing some demons. I was in the quarterfinals in 2021. I've lost so many games in my life. That's part of being a top athlete. I will forget every single one except for the 2021 quarterfinals. I will take that match to my grave. And this is my chance to excise some demons.
Jose Martinez flew all the way from Peru to Goa and is now perhaps the biggest underdog to have made it to the quarterfinals. He defeated the seasoned Grandmaster Pentala Harikrishna in the 10+10 games, and in the 20 games he has played so far, Martinez hasn't lost yet. While this podcast is being uploaded, the quarterfinals have started with the matchups Yavogir Sindarov versus Jose Martinez, Nodirbek Yakuboyev versus Alexander Donchenko, Sam Shankland versus Andrei Esipenko, and last but definitely not least, Wei Yi versus Arjun Erigaisi. Last week, FIDE just missed my podcast's deadline by an hour or so to announce the location and dates of the 2026 FIDE Candidates tournament. It's going to be in Cyprus, and the playing days are March 29 to April 15. We're talking about both the open and women's candidates, and both are 8-player double round robins. The venue will be the luxury Cap St. George's Hotel and Resort, a 5-star coastal venue near Paphos on Cyprus's scenic southwestern coast. There are no big changes in the regulations this time, so for example there will be again a rapid and blitz tiebreak in case of a tie. For the Open, the winner will play Gukesh Domaraju for the world title in November 2026. The winner in the women's tournament will play Yuen Yun. Already qualified for the Open section officially are Fabiano Caruana from the circuit and Anish Giri and Matthias Blubaum from the Grand Swiss. I think FIDE is yet to announce Hikaru Nakamura, who has qualified via the rating spot. From the FIDE World Cup there will be 3 players, and all of them will be first-timers. And then from the 2026 FIDE circuit, Praganananda is surely going to qualify, as he has a huge lead over the next eligible player, Vincent Keimer. On to the next topic. Just one match was played in the Chess.com Speed Chess Championship this week, but what a match. Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana, the 2 contenders in the 2018 FIDE World Championship, were paired for the first quarterfinal match with a ticket to the London finals in February at stake. Carlsen won 14.5, 7.5, but in fact the match was quite close for the most part, with just a slim lead of 6.5, 5.5 for the Norwegian Grandmaster by the 5th game of the 3+1 portion.
In the end, it was Magnus Carlsen taking over in the bullet portion and winning this quarterfinals matchup, an all-Team Liquid matchup, which of course obviously means Team Liquid has representation in London. And it's Magnus Carlsen moving on with a win over Fabiano Caruana.
In their last SCC match in 2022, Carlsen had managed to avoid a single loss to Caruana, but this time that was not the case. In fact, he showed frustration about his play on camera and afterward admitted he wasn't happy with his play at all.
Absolutely atrocious. And yeah, I mean, I just was not enjoying the match at all at some point because I could just feel that I was just not there. On another day, I might not have gotten away with it because I could feel myself like when I was getting down to 1 point and I was having some shaky days. Like, I think if he had equalized the match, I would have just probably collapsed.
Then, not only the candidates, but also the 2026 Grand Chess Tour was announced. There are no surprises and all the tournaments are usual suspects. The Superbet Rabbit and Blitz will be held in Warsaw, Poland from May 3 to 10. Then the Superbet Chess Classic will be held in Bucharest, Romania from May 12 to 24. Then we have the Super United Rapid and Blitz in Zagreb, Croatia from June 29 to July 6. And in St. Louis we will see both the Rapid and Blitz tournament and the Sinquefield Cup from July 29 to August 28. So no finals in Sao Paulo this time, and instead we're back to a full month of top-level chess at the St. Louis Chess Club. In other news, Faustino Oro, the 10-year-old Argentinian prodigy, won a match against Argentina's highest-rated grandmaster Sandro Mareco, 3.5, 2.5. Drawing 5 games and winning 1. With this, Oro crossed the 2500 ELO mark, and in the upcoming Argentinian Championship he will be trying to score his second GM norm. Note that Oro has until October 26 to break Abhimanyu Mishra's record and become the youngest grandmaster in history. On a final note, on Sunday night 60 Minutes on CBS covered the topic of chess boxing with a 13-minute report on the Chess Boxing World Championship last month in Loznica, Serbia. It focused on the super heavyweight final won by James Canty III from Michigan, a well-known chess commentator who has been boxing for just 2 years. 60 Minutes was weirdly not mentioning the name of his opponent and kept calling him the Russian. Well, that Russian was Yevgeny Isayev, who was the better boxer but eventually lost the match on the chessboard.
The Russian charged, lashing out with a punishing right hook. Canty danced and dodged, taking blow after blow.
Counter him in neck, hands up!
But he hung on.
Jab!
And on.
Canty on the ropes!
That's it for this week. See you next week. And if you have been enjoying this, please subscribe.